Starmer sticks by his promise of assisting dying free vote. We're going to read into this more from the BBC, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from the BBC with the headline of Keir Starmer sticks by his promise of assisting dying free vote. So Keir Starmer has insisted that he remains committed to giving MPs a free vote on assisting dying laws at some point. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button, share it across social media so others are notified of this video. So we have talked in the past about assisting dying. I understand obviously why some people are against it. I know it can be it's a very difficult and an uncomfortable subject to talk about, but I do feel I want to talk a little bit about it here before we read into the article. It's just more about the confirmation that Keir is committed to having the vote on assisting dying. I think it's really, really important. First and foremost, I think it's great that he says here that he's promising a free vote to this. Now, obviously, I think that's really, really important, especially in some people who, in some cases, in some constituents and areas where certain MPs are going to be under pressure to vote a certain way by how people feel about assisted dying. Some people are for against it because they're worried that it will set a precedent that other people could take advantage of the assisted dying rule as a means to allegedly have someone killed, as a means to, say, for instance, inherit their money, for example, or inherit their wealth, just as a hypothesis of an example of assisted dying there. And there's obviously the favorability of wanting assisted dying, because obviously one of the things that when people are in great deal of pain and suffering, and when they feel that when they're at the end of their life, or they're near the end of their life, and they don't want the suffering anymore, they want it to end. And they should be allowed to be able to do that with dignity and compassion without having the need to travel, to example, for Switzerland to have that to be allowed to die. They would rather do it here in the UK, surrounded by their family and friends and loved ones in their home, rather than in a different country. It's a very expensive thing, obviously, for them to go all the way out to Switzerland to do so as well. So there's a massive cost effect to that as well. Dignity in dying is pretty much there, as it says the campaign, and it should be a choice if they are in. And obviously, I do generally believe that when this bill comes, there will be very many safeguards to ensure that those who are doing it as pretty much as they are absolutely definitely going to die. This is something they absolutely want. They're going to make sure that people have to jump through hoops in order to be able to have that assisted dying if they want it in the UK. I do generally believe people will have to jump through hoops for it, and I think that's the right thing to do, because obviously, as I've said, this is a very extremely uncomfortable topic. But I do believe that people who are on death's bed, or who are in a great deal of pain, or someone who's sitting on a hospital bed in a vegetative state, and I've said this, I think I've said this before, like if I'm in a vegetative state sitting on a bed, I would rather not be a burden for other people. That's not a life that I would want. It's not a life I would want for my loved ones. And if there was no way to bring them back in that state, I would want them to be put out of their misery. If they are in that state and they cannot be saved. Because I just don't think it's a dignified way of living. Everybody can fundamentally agree to disagree on that, and that's totally fine. But if I was in that state, I would not want to be in that state for the rest of my life, just sitting there in the hospital bed, just as the time is passing, and not being able to and being in a kind of state that can't do anything. Every single human, every single patient, everyone has different feelings on this, and understandably some people will have different feelings as well when talking about this, but I do think that a free vote is the right thing to do. The only question is that we don't know is when this vote's going to happen. Excuse me. So the Prime Minister said that he would provide parliamentary time for a vote if a backbench MP proposed to change it to the law. but stressed the government had other priorities for the first year or so. Yeah, so it's entirely possible, guys. We may not be having this may not come through, may not be put. This bill will not come until probably next year. There are other priorities that need to take place, understandably. Free votes are where MPs can vote based on their conscience rather than having to follow a party line. So Keir supported a change in the law the last time the issue was voted on in the Commons 9 years ago, and the cause has been championed by broadcaster Dame Esther Rantzen. Dame Esther is terminally ill with lung cancer last year and revealed she had joined Dignitas, the only assisting dying clinic in Switzerland. Speaking on a trip to the NATO summit in the US, the new Prime Minister said he asked whether he would hold a vote in the first year of his government. So Keir had replied, "What I said is that we will provide time for this by the way of a private member's bill, and there will be a free vote. That remains my position for the reasons that I've set out. Having probably got more experience on this than most people, having personally looked at tens of thousands of cases in my time as Director of Public Prosecutions. As for the timing of it, I haven't made a commitment on that, and I don't want to. I'm not going back on the commitments I made. It's just we have to set out priorities for the first year or so. But I will double down on the commitments that we are. But I will double down on the commitment that we are going to do that. We will be allowing time for a private member's bill, and there will be a free vote. Assistance suicide, internally helping another person to end their life is banned in England, Wales and Northern Ireland with a maximum prison sentence of 14 years. While there is no specific offence for assisted suicide in Scotland, enthusiastic or illegal can be prosecuted as murder or capable homicide. Trying to kill yourself is not by itself a criminal act. A bill to legalise assisted dying in the UK was defeated in 2015, but was backed by Keir and several Tory cabinet members. He had previously said that he thinks there are grounds for changing the law. Opponents to changing the law say it is to protect the vulnerable and ensure that nobody is pressured into dying sooner than he might otherwise. Yes, and this is completely understandable why people feel that way about it. That's totally understandable. Over 200,000 people signed a petition for a vote on assisted dying, leading to a debate in Parliament in April. There was a no vote, and the government remains neutral on the issue. Many share stories relating to losing relatives and loved ones and how it informed their views on the topic of assisted dying. A private member's bill, PMB, is a proposed law change introduced by an MP, not the government. PMBs rarely become law without the support of the government, as they do not get the same amount of time dedicated to government business. Free votes are common on matters to do with health, religion, or military intervention." Yeah, and it's like I said, it's a very difficult and an uncomfortable subject to talk about, but I do think it's one there, and I completely understand the oppositions for it, and there are very valid points here why we shouldn't have assisted dying, and I'm sure there's some points that I may have missed that some people may put in the comments below, and that's totally fine. But I do think there should be that choice of being able to have that right to them. But I also believe that there should be a lot of hoops for people to jump through in order to be able to have that assisted dying as well in doing so. Like I said, I don't think it's right that people have to travel all the way to Switzerland to do so. It just doesn't feel right to me in any way, shape or form. And I generally hope that some other people who are listening feel the same way too. But honestly, I want to know what you guys think about assisted dying. I want to know what your thoughts are about it. Are you for it? Are you against it? Share me your thoughts about it in the comments section down below. Perhaps you know somebody that's related to you that has in a similar situation, or you know relatives of sorts, and share stories of your own. Please feel free to share them in the comments section down below. If you found this video interesting, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate shares across social media so others are notified of this video, and subscribe because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.